My name is Rohan Chandrasekhar. I'm 31 years old. I call myself a solopreneur now. I used to be an entrepreneur till about a couple of years back. Started my journey as a businessman about 6 years back, which was when I was fresh off the boat and I was back in India in 2009. This was a time of great complexity. The economy wasn't doing very well in the US, which is where I completed my college from. Came down to India early 2009. The Indian economy was not doing very well either. Guess I was compelled to get into business because of lack of better options. That's really how I started my current company. And what I basically do is I help other companies create digital content. I help them with visual design and things like that. Because I'm a solopreneur, I collaborate with other independent consultants to drive my deliverables and to meet my project commitments. I have this network all across the world. It's still a very small network, but it's still spread out. And sort of it gives me the opportunity to collaborate with not just independent professionals, but people who are very, very experienced in what they do and who they are. And so that adds a lot of credibility and what I believe is quality into my work. So I come from a family of patriots in some sense. My father was in the army for 24 years, and we've had the opportunity to travel and stay across the length and breadth of the country. I've grown up as an army kid. My passions ended up being picking up a book, watching a movie, watching World War documentaries, things like that. Very, very nerdy and geeky things. And so invariably a lot of my time now goes into sort of my own business. It's surprising because as a solopreneur, you're the only guy doing everything. You're the guy cleaning the office and you're the guy sort of meeting clients. If I'm not catching up with my very small social circle of friends, I play board games a lot. I play card games a lot, and I figure out avenues and opportunities and groups of people to do this with. I also read a lot, so that's where most of my weekend really, that's where I invest most of my time. Watch documentaries. One of the big reasons why I wanted to really multiply my savings via investing was young solopreneur with absolutely no idea of how to raise venture capital during the time I started out, and not even having that kind of interest in external funding. I knew that the only way of raising capital was getting more clients for my business or to multiply my savings. And I really liked the idea of using my own money to fuel my own business. For some reason, I really shunned the whole concept of external funding, whether that's venture capital or loans or whatever. That really was not my comfort zone. And I think I just wanted to figure this out, and I think that was a real trigger. Get into mutual fund investing, understand the investing paradigm, learn more about it, to figure out ways to multiply what I had in how many other ways I could, and use that to flow it into my own business. I think I also have to give a lot of credit to my father, who basically really introduced me to the whole concept of investing, because my idea of investing when I was 28 years old or 29 years old was just to have a savings bank account and to park whatever little money you have there and magically hope for it to multiply. Obviously that was not the most prudent understanding. So my father, who has been investing for decades now, I believe, got me introduced into what investing was to begin with. And that was important for me because I did not come from a business background. I don't have an MBA or any kind of a business degree. And so my idea of investing was extremely layman. And I think it was important for me to sort of get that understanding through and get that started. I wanted to just magically figure out a way to start investing, but at the same time, because I did not know much about it then, 3 years back, I loved the idea of investing, but I just did not know how to get started.
Okay.
And I think Scripbox came to me at a very good time. Again, credit goes to my father, who really introduced me to Scripbox. I loved the idea of automated investing because that meant that I could spend my time doing everything else, focus on my business. And it also lent a lot of credence to the fact that I did not know much about investing. So, to sort of spend that kind of time to learn about investing was the kind of time I did not have back then. And Scripbox made it really easy for me to get started without having to worry about what all of this really meant and what all of this could do for me. I knew I could always find time to learn more about it, but it just made it very easy to get started.
So, when you started registering with Scripbox 3 years ago, did you have any fears or concerns at the outset? Because after all, this is about your money. So, were there any concerns that you had in mind? If there were any, what were those?
I think the only concern I had was with the idea of long-term investing. I never believed, at least back then, that long-term could work. Over time I've realized that that's the only way that works. Back then I had just those primal insecurities about what happens if I lose all the hard-earned money that I had saved up. So I wouldn't say it's a Scripbox thing. I would just say that it was that bare-bone insecurity that I had about long-term investing. No, I think Scripbox just made it a whole lot. I come from a techie sort of background. I understand technology at least to a fair bit. For me, the intuitiveness, the responsiveness that both the people at Scripbox back then offered and the UI that I saw, the dashboard, was very simple to understand. It was easy to comprehend. There was zero to none sort of complexity.
Alright.
So for me, it was very, very easy to understand how to get started. And I think the way Scripbox was structured, not just design-wise but support-wise as well, was friendly, was conducive, and so for me there was absolutely no friction in terms of getting started. I understood that every mutual fund house has a certain process of getting started. You do need KYC documentation. There is an ECS process with your bank, but that's standardized across every offering out there. But I think the fact that the support team at Scripbox, at least when I started out, was very helpful, just in terms of answering simple questions that I had, questions that I now find very, very stupid and naive. But I think that the ease of getting to know the team and having them sort of involved into my onboarding was very helpful.
You mentioned now Scripbox is based around the idea that fewer choices are good for you.
Yeah.
So when you started just seeing 4 mutual fund options, how did that make you feel?
So there was a question mark on trust at some subconscious level, but I also understood that a lot of the work that goes in the back end was algorithmic because it was automated. There was also no question of human error involved. And so with that at the back of my mind, somewhere I felt that having fewer options would be better. Because there are plenty of mutual fund options out there in general. And for somebody who doesn't know much about investing, to actually have the best 2, 3, 4, 5 options available to you, to have that kind of implicit trust in knowing that all of this has been all of this is data driven, there is no human bias involved, is sort of builds a lot of integrity, builds a lot of trust over time. So for me, I think having fewer options meant having no analysis paralysis, which is something that someone like me is very prone to. I do tend to research a lot, I do tend to get into the nitty-gritties of things. So having an entity tell me this is good for you because this is what the data says and this is what's been tried and tested many, many times was, I guess, inspiring.
You started your investment journey and you were investing. So how, do you start small? Did you start big?
So I started investing very, very small. I was risk averse. It's funny that I'm not risk averse at all today. But I did start off with something as small as 5,000 rupees into each fund, and I believe Scripbox had 4 equity funds to begin with. So I remember putting in 5k in each fund, and so that obviously meant we started with 20k a month, then I moved that to 40, then to 60, and so it kept growing from the time I started. But I did start very, very small, and I wanted to see and understand and experiment with this whole concept of investing and the process of how Scripbox went about investing. And once I knew I was comfortable with this and I could trust the simplicity, I did not have any problems scaling up.
Now, you have been investing for over 3 years. Knowing what you know now, how do you look back at this journey? Were there any particular moments that you remember or that come to your mind, and how do you feel that about your decisions you took across the journey?
So I have no regrets about investing. I understand that investing comes with its own pros and cons, mostly pros. And the only con I can think of is market volatility, and that's something nobody can really predict or play with. That took me a while to understand that market volatility is a real thing, and you do end up at least notionally losing money, but you also end up making money. And I think the part about the part I love about investing is the part where it's a playground for you. You can put your funds wherever you want. You can put the amount that you're comfortable with, and you can play with it a little bit. And I think that part is really interesting. But I do remember a point when the market was down and I saw all my investments in the negative. None of my investments were doing well. So those are times that did bring about some amount of insecurity. But I recognize that it's not just me who's going through it. It's pretty much every other investor during that time who has notionally sort of lost money. The one thing I do remember, the one thing I learned from that experience is to not make rash decisions, to not be impulsive about investing when times are bad, or even when times are good. I think being disciplined about investing is really important. And I think the one key learning from Scripbox in particular is the SIP angle, which really sort of promotes the idea of disciplined investing, automated investing, and I think that really works. Actually, I have had absolutely no problems. I think my expectation from any investing platform, specifically Scripbox, was met. I wanted something that did not take a lot of my time. I needed something that could do all the heavy lifting for me. I needed a support team at the back end that I could call or maybe email if or when I needed help. And I needed to see my savings multiply over time. And I wanted lesser options to choose from. So I think Scripbox basically just checked all the boxes for me. I've absolutely had no wants or needs beyond what I've already received. So the 2 big reasons I was saving was definitely to have enough money to flow back into my business. The other reason, actually 3 reasons. The other reason was to actually invest in new business ideas that I like, that I could spend my time on. As a solopreneur, working on one business idea gets a little mundane after a while. So if you have an opportunity to invest and play with other ideas and to have money lying around to sort of follow through, that would have been nice, and that's something that I'm pleased to say that I have now, at least to a certain bit. The third very important thing that I wanted to invest, one of the reasons I wanted to start investing was for medical emergencies, for me and my family. We all recognize that healthcare costs are extremely high, and I wanted to have enough in my savings for the heyday, basically, the emergencies in case they were to arrive. So those 3 reasons primarily. When I started out, I was 28 or 29 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very naive. I absolutely knew nothing about investing. I was also immature about the decisions I took with regards to investing, and I ended up making a few mistakes here and there. I took it as part of the learning process. Now that I'm 31, I believe that I do know a little bit more than what I did when I started out. I'm a lot more prudent with my investing decisions, but at the same time, I'm not very risk averse. I'm more of a risk taker now because I understand that that's what investing is all about. All good things take time, and investing is just another thing that takes time to sort of reap rewards.
So,
if you are somebody who are absolutely new to investing, or if you're someone who does not want to spend a lot of time managing their portfolio per se, or someone who does not want to invest the time to learn about investing right away, Scripbox would be the best option for you. If you are someone who wants all the luxuries of a wealth manager without without the human error that comes with that process, knowing very well that there is an automated system that's data driven, that's built on tested algorithms, then Scripbox is the right fit. One of the things that I understood once I got into Scripbox a lot more was that there were three options to basically choose from within equity, debt funds, and tax saving funds. For me personally, I would love to see more financial options coming in and having limits under those options, just like we have now. We've got 4 equities under the equity option. We've got, I believe, 3 debt funds under the debt fund option. So those options could be limited, but I think the scope for more financial instruments, maybe ETFs, maybe other options, that Scripbox could perhaps consider, would be nice to have. I wouldn't say I'm a regular on the Scripbox blog, but I am an avid reader. I do try and catch the newsletter whenever it comes my way. I found the content to be very relevant to me 2 years back when I did not know anything. And I think the tonality and the language and the kind of topics that were being covered within the blog and within some of the other guides that the marketing team, the communications team was delivering were very helpful. I think it also built a lot of trust into the platform. The fact that they were speaking my language at a time when I did not know how to speak. Being a disciplined investor is the need of the hour. And I think knowing the right funds to invest in and knowing that those funds have had a good track record and actually going ahead and committing to the concept of investing is something that every young person in this country needs to start. The sooner the better. I started when I was 28 or 29 years old. I feel that I was too late. I wish I could have started earlier. I wish I could have started maybe 5 years earlier, but I did not. So if you are around 25 to 30, this is probably the best time for you to start